This video is going to blow your mind. Gaps are going to be filled in and explained that many of us thought we may never know until we meet our Creator, perhaps. However, He left this knowledge for us, especially our generation, right here in First Enoch. The mysterious birth of Noah. What is it about? This is a fascinating account where Noah was born different. Was he somehow of mixed bloodline? Well, no. Was there a Nephilim incursion there? No. The story is clear, and no one can say that, yet Noah had unique features and characteristics that will come into play in his fulfillment of the greatest prophecy, really, of that time. Now, Lamech, Noah's father, is even concerned and goes to his father Methuselah, the grandfather of Noah, who then goes to his father Enoch to visit, and Enoch was already taken at that point to the Garden of Eden, so he knew where the entrance was, and he visited him there. No, he didn't go in. Now, we covered that. Watch those videos regarding Enoch in the garden. What was it that was so special, though, about Noah? Why was he created this way? What purpose would it possibly serve within this narrative? We believe these answers are clear, and we can know how even the different races, at least the main ones, three of them, could have survived the flood. We find this preserved in First Enoch, and this is amazing. For all of us as well, it's affirmed in Jubilees and Genesis, really. Once again, this is not a mystery at all. Now, before we go to First Enoch, though, let's go to Genesis and set a little foundation for the time we are in here when this story unfolds. And you'll see for yourself that Genesis, Jubilees, Enoch, these three really agree as the three witnesses of creation and the flood, especially. Genesis 6:8 from the KJV, and that's what we always read from, by the way. If ever we don't say it, it's always the KJV. Unless we say otherwise, it's always the KJV from Blue Letter Bible, principally, especially when you see these blue, excerpts on the screen. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahuwah. Now, there we go. There's the gospel of grace, folks. Yeah, well, if you ever hear that term, and it doesn't include Noah or Adam or even Israel, well, it's just plain incomplete. And that pastor needs to go back and do more research because they're missing most of it. These are the generations of Noah. And by the way, that goes for Gentiles too, who are there in Israel, in the Exodus, keeping the law of Moses. Yeah. So, these are the generations of Noah. Get this, there are no other, okay, not for men. These are his three sons. He doesn't have four sons, only three. That's it. Now, we are going to talk about daughters too later in this video, and this will be very interesting for many. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. Now, what does that mean? His DNA. Noah, as all the patriarchs from Seth, were holy and pure in their bloodlines. All of them were, including the wives. Watch wives of the patriarchs, and you'll see for yourself. All from Seth, not one from Cain, not one from Nephilim bloodlines within. If you hear that, it is not scripture. It comes from occult accounts like the occult Jasher, which has over 100 occult accounts within and is absolutely an abhorrent, deplorable, occult document. That's all Jasher has ever been. The modern Jasher, the one in the Bible, is Jubilees. And we prove that. Watch part 49, A through F of Answers in Jubilees, or testing the book of Jasher. I think we also have it broken out as a playlist. Now, Cain was evil, but he left Havilah, the land of Eve. Seth's generations, though, its righteous generations, stayed there according to Enoch. And we've covered that already. Now, until the flood uprooted Noah and his sons and their pure wives, also from Seth. That's what the Bible says. Now, we're going to show you something that is going to nail that down once and for all in this video, and it's awesome too. In fact, the occult Jasher claims Noah's wife was Naamah from Cain. What a disgusting fraud and lie. Jubilees corrects this. His wife's name is Amzar. We're going to show you another source from the Dead Sea Scrolls that does as well. And this is fact. She was from Seth and pure. Now, they try everything they can to inject Nephilim and Cain, long before their times even, for that matter. But neither are true. Naamah from Cain was known in the occult as a Nephilim breeder, Mother Earth. Gaia as another name for her. Yeah, right. She married Noah? You got to be kidding me. Noah was righteous and he wasn't stupid. Okay? We all know better. Even called in Cain's evil bloodline, really for good reason, Naamah, and she's named out in Scripture. She's the only woman that is there. Why? Because she's evil. Because she did very evil things. Hers is not a good story. And no, Noah did not marry her. That's ridiculous. Now, you can also watch our 2 serpent seed videos where we destroy that concept. That's not Scripture. As well as the mystery of Cain, 1 and 2. Noah was pure in DNA, and Enoch agrees, you'll see. By the way, so was Cain. Now, we are aware some try to pull fragments out of Enoch, trying to go in other directions. They simply can't, and the series has proven that many times over. And Noah walked with Elohim, and Noah begot 3 sons. Okay, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, just the 3 sons. Again, we'll get to daughters. Now, that's all we have to reboot mankind, and they end up on the ark. The daughters don't, and we'll get to that. They all have pure wives who were all from Seth, Seth's bloodline. And Yahuwah, who was not impotent nor ignorant, nor was Noah, well, he chose those 8 to replenish mankind. However, how did the races such as what we call white, brown, black, or whatever you want to call it, no, the terms aren't even accurate, as we're all brown, period. I mean, many will say that, and that's truth. That is actually truth. We're just different shades of brown. That's what we all are. There's no such thing as white or black, really. But, and, our DNA is within a fraction of a percent different. So we're all one race, period. That whole discussion, I mean, yes, we need to understand this for migration patterns. We need to understand this for the peopling of the nations. And you'll never understand DNA without it. However, it's not about racism. It's not about race in those terms. It's just about trying to get things straight and understand mankind's, true history. And the fact is, those running scientific fields today have no clue on this. In fact, modern scholars, they know nothing of it because they don't have Jubilees and First Enoch. They've abolished them, which is ridiculous. However, there is a difference in appearance, and we'll get to this in this video as promised. Let's also remember the times here, the days of Noah, as we are returning to those days in prophecy. So let's read just a little further here in Genesis before we get started. In the perspective of the flood, we underestimate the magnitude and true extent of the flood. I mean, 15 cubits above the tallest mountain. That's a lot more water than most think of. I know there's a blogger out there who thinks somehow Noah's Ark was drowning in 22 feet of water. Yeah, that's right, 22 feet. A lot of the earth is more than 22 feet above sea level, for that matter, so they'd see nothing. I mean, you want to talk about ridiculous, but yeah, we get it all here. But let's read. The earth also was corrupt before Elohim. See, we also need to understand the true, chaos on a level we can't even fathom. And that's coming back, folks. We need to prepare for it. And the earth was filled with violence. Indeed, especially from the Nephilim giants, which Enoch's made very clear, the children of the Watchers, such as the 10 giant kings of Atlantis, who were bringing the earth to ruin. That's what he says, pretty much. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt. So the whole earth was corrupt. Wow. For all flesh. Now, obviously, Noah wasn't corrupt, right? So when it says all flesh there's a caveat, right? And this, the Bible does this all the time. And many people are like, oh, no, it says all. So that means everybody died, everybody corrupted, nobody was pure. But it's going to tell you Noah was, right? I mean, we just read that. Noah was. So it says Noah was pure in his generations. And now it says all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. Well, is the Bible disagreeing with itself? No. You take into account the full context. That's how we got to read. We must read in whole passages, not in fragments. Understand this is the makeup of this day, and it's coming back. There were few humans left that had not been modified, right? That were pure in their generations. They weren't any longer. Whether they were mating with Nephilim or whether, the Watchers, were still taking human women as wives, could be, or whether this was a literal modification of DNA, which angels certainly would be capable of, right? So this is the context in which we read First Enoch. We're setting that up right now. Now let's go to the account of the mysterious birth of Noah. These are the times in which Noah was born. Chaos. And they only worsen between that time and the flood. Open your book of First Enoch to chapter 106, all the way to, almost the end, starting in verse 1. And after some days, my son Methuselah took a wife. Now, this is obviously Enoch narrating here. His son is Methuselah. Took a wife for his son Lamech. Okay, so notice how the father chose the wives for his sons. Understand that is the practice. You're going to see Noah did the same for his sons. And to accuse Noah of putting those of Nephilim bloodlines into the ark, that is the most ridiculous statement ever. I know there are some, even like Rob Skiba, that assume that, but really he didn't know Jubilees yet. And he didn't know First Enoch well. Not like this. No one, I don't know. We haven't seen anybody break it down like we have so far. Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, and she became pregnant by him and bore a son. Now this is Noah, but Noah was unique, very different in appearance especially. Why? Well, we'll get there, but let's look at this. Verse 2, and his body was white as snow. Whoa, that's pretty white. I've known some white dudes in my day, but they ain't that white. Okay, something different is going on here. And no, there really is not a white. It's actually brown, right? It's just a lighter skin tone of brown. Okay, but white as snow, this is going to concern Lamech, and for good reason. Because that is something we see in the accounts of the Nephilim, which he'll tell you is the case. So they have a milky white skin, a lot like what we see aliens described as. They're not white, they're a milky white. Really white. Okay? And that's what we're looking at here. But Noah was no Nephilim, certainly wasn't an alien, because there are none. Those are Nephilim impersonating aliens. But you'll see, it's all here when we read Enoch through. This literally means much whiter than the white man. Understand that. Now, this is unique to what Lamech had ever seen as far as men go. Yet, he did see this with the angels, the fallen angels who were this white. So, it concerned him. And red as the blooming of a rose. Now, what are we seeing here? We'll get there, but this is very unique. And the hair of his head and his long locks were white as wool from birth. Think about that. So he's born with hair, and he's got long hair, and it's white as wool. Now that's the color of wool, white, not the texture. Understand that. This doesn't say anything about the texture of his hair, nor does Revelation in regards to Yahuwah. That's just not there, and to assume it is really a stretch, and that's all it can be. So Noah was born with white hair, long hair, and very white, white as, wool, so as a lamb's wool. This could be another Nephilim trait in appearance, yet Noah was no Nephilim, right? But this is why his father was concerned. And his eyes beautiful. Now check this out. When he opened his eyes, he lighted up the whole house like the sun, and the whole house was very bright. Wow. Now, this is extremely rare. I don't know anybody like this, okay? I don't know about you, but I don't know anybody like this. This is a one-of-a-kind in appearance indeed. So why was Noah so different? Consider his purpose, to bring rest and comfort, that's what his name means, to mankind, surviving the flood, and continuing the races of man. Not that Yahuwah identifies any of us as a different race. We're just man. We're all just man. That's it. Mankind. There's one mankind. There are no races, really. Now, this is important, though, to Yahuwah, and why he made Noah very special. Because clearly he wanted to continue this dynamic. Can we prove this? Well, wait till you see what we found. Verse 3, and thereupon he arose in the hands of the midwife, opened his mouth, this is at birth, and conversed with Yahuwah of righteousness. Whoa! From birth? Got that? Now, this is not the only time, by the way, that we see this as a narrative. As Jubilees says, the very same or very similar of Abraham when he was born. How about that? These were very special prophets called by Yahuwah indeed. There is nothing unthinkable about it. He certainly could do it. We're born with vocal cords, that's for certain. It's just a matter of developing our brains to the point that we can converse, yet these guys could. And his father Lamech was afraid of him and fled and came to his father Methuselah. Well, you would be too. I mean, we all would say, whoa, dude, whoa. I mean, you'd be going to your wife and saying, excuse me, is there something here? I mean, you want to tell me something? Am I missing something here? I would. I think we all would. It looks conspicuous. Why did Noah look like this? But this is going to be for Yahuwah's purpose, and it is brilliant and perfect. Verse 5, and he said unto him, I have begotten a strange son. Yeah, he looks different, and he's already talking from the womb. Dude, that would scare most of us parents, probably all. Diverse from and unlike man, like any other man, of course, and resembling, get this, the sons of Elohim of heaven, the angels, the watchers, and their progeny, the Nephilim. Whoa, really? Well, that's what he looked like. He wasn't a giant, of course, but Lamech is just observing something that's out of place, very unique, and you can't blame him for that. And he does the right thing. He goes to his father to ask, and his father will go to Enoch to ask, and they'll get clarity on the whole thing. And then they'll hear it, they'll understand it, and abide by Yahuwah's words. So, all good here. There's nothing wrong with the story. And his nature is different, and he is not like us. And his eyes are as the rays of the sun, and his countenance is glorious. Noah's perfect, however. Understand that. Created exactly as he needed to be for his purpose. I mean, this is one of the most important times in all of history, even though the church knows very little about it. Verse 6, and it seems to me that he is not sprung from me, but from the angels, like a Nephilim. Again, he wasn't giant in appearance, but remember, not all of those offspring were giants either. And this is kind of affirming that really, not directly, but does in a sense. And I fear that in his days a wonder may be wrought on the earth. Now, of course, he's talking about something negative, something bad could happen if perhaps there's something awry here. So he's just trying to confirm, that's all. You can't blame the guy. Any father probably would. Verse 7, and now my father, Methuselah, who was still alive at this point, by the way, he dies just days before the flood, just as his name means, his death shall bring. How about that? And it did indeed. It brought the flood. I am here to petition thee and implore thee that thou mayest go to Enoch our father. See, this is the right thing to do. He's actually doing the right thing here. You know, they still knew where Enoch was, even in this time, because he was in the Garden of Eden, which entrance is still right there, according to Enoch, in this very land where these patriarchs still lived, right where Adam and Eve were exiled into this land to the east of the garden. So the entrance, they knew where it was. And that today is the modern Philippines, we call it. Its geography looks somewhat different because we have a world ocean now because of the flood. But yes, it still is, but no one will find it, not this entrance. And if they do, well, you know, two angels, flaming sword that turns in every direction, you very well may lose their heads. We ain't gone there. So the reality is, even if someone did find it, we'd probably never know it. And learn from him the truth, for his dwelling place is amongst the angels. Where's that? In the Garden of Eden. That's where Gabriel abides and many angels with him. It's the Holy of Holies of Yahuwah. Now, we covered that already. Watch, where did Enoch go? Where are Enoch and Elijah now? Really, the first part of the series deals with this, over the Garden of Eden videos especially. These are not mysteries, and we can all know this. Verse 8, and when Methuselah heard the words of his son, he came to me, that's Enoch, to the ends of the earth, indeed, in the far east where the garden was planted, and Enoch well defines exactly where he placed it, as he exited the Indian Ocean, headed northeast to the garden, which is only one place on all of earth. It's called the Philippines today. Now, we prove that. Watch those videos. Don't try to argue here. Attempted to debate in ignorance? Oh, no, not here. You'll be muted. Our channel, our rules. For he had heard that I was there. See, he knew that he was there. And he cried aloud, and I heard his voice, and I came to him. So Enoch came out of the garden to Methuselah at the entrance. Methuselah could not go in. Some even ridicule our videos with that point. What a non-point. Anyway, anyone trying to say that disproves this story, well, they simply can't read. That's all. And I said unto him, behold, here am I, my son. Wherefore hast thou come to me? So, why are you here, son? Verse 9, and he answered and said, because of a great cause of anxiety have I come to thee, and because of a disturbing vision have I approached. Now, what? Noah was right? Of course not. That would not be news, would it? So there's much more to this story than something so simple as that. Noah had extremely unique features that Lamech said appear Nephilim. This is concerning to Lamech for good reason, but Enoch's going to clarify this. Some take this, and they assume then that Noah was some magician and all of this stuff. They don't bother to read what Enoch responds, because Noah is not a Nephilim. He's nothing magical. He's pure human, and he's all good. Verse 10, and now, my father, hear me, unto Lamech my son there hath been born a son, the like of whom there is none. So, not white, as we call it, right? I mean, this is different. This is one of a kind. And his nature is not like man's nature, and the color of his body is whiter than snow. So he's even saying whiter than snow. That's pretty white. Not just snow, whiter. That's way white, much more than any what we call white people today, okay? And redder than the bloom of a rose. Now, this is blushing of sort, not the word red in terms of skin tone. It's very clear he's white in skin tone. That's whiter than snow. There's no doubt about that. And his eyes, oh no, wait, and the hair of his head is whiter than white wool. Okay, again, white as wool in color, not texture. And his eyes are like the rays of the sun, glowing. And he opened his eyes, and thereupon lighted up the whole house, really glowing, anointing, it appears, especially since he could talk at birth. And he talked to who? He talked to Yahuwah. So that's a good thing. Not something a Nephilim does, not something a Satanist does, right? So pretty good. But nevertheless, his appearance, disconcerting indeed to Lamech. Verse 11, and he rose in the hands of the midwife and opened his mouth and blessed Yahuwah of heaven. Again, that's awesome. Imagine that. Wow. And actually, really, that is a sign that he clearly wasn't a Nephilim, because they don't do that. Verse 12, and his father Lamech became afraid and fled to me, and did not believe that he was sprung from him, but that he was in the likeness of the angels of heaven. Makes sense. It's a sensible conclusion. It's a fair question from Lamech, and he went to the right people to get the answer. Get that. Got a feel for his poor wife, though, as that is quite the allegation, but you can see why he would consider it, certainly. And behold, I have come to thee, that thou mayest make known to me the truth. So Methuselah is asking to see here. He wants to know the truth. Lamech wanted to know the truth. That's all they're after here. This isn't about rumors, or anything like that. This is a very honest story of honest, righteous men, and they followed the chain of command accurately, the way that they should, all the way to Enoch, and then Enoch is going to render this, and we'll know exactly what the truth is. Oh yeah, and sorry, Hollywood. No, it didn't look like Russell Crowe. Sorry, you got it wrong again. Anyway, verse 13. And I, Enoch, answered and said unto him, Yahuwah will do a new thing on the earth, indeed, and this I have already seen in a vision, and actually even written down in First Enoch for that matter, and make known to thee that in the generation of my father Jared, some of the angels of heaven transgressed the word of Yahuwah. Now, Methuselah knew this, but he's repeating that to make it clear, yes, that did happen, but this isn't that. Right? That's what he's going to say, you'll see. Verse 14, and behold, they commit sin and transgress the law, and have united themselves with women and commit sin with them, and have married some of them, and have begotten children by them, the Nephilim, of course. Exactly, but Noah's not one of them, you'll see. Now, Charles reorders this verse here and moves it into, so it's 14, 17, 15, right? But he knew how to count. He did it on purpose. He tells you why. He thinks it's more appropriate this way. And it doesn't change anything. It's quite fine. It would read fine the other way too, but it is clearer this way, so it makes sense. So that's why you're going to see 17 here. We're just on 14. Next we're going to go to 15, so there's nothing wrong with it. And they shall produce on the earth giants, not according to the spirit. See, Enoch says they do not have Yahuwah's spirit because they're demons, and he knows this even before the flood. But according to the flesh, and there shall be a great punishment on the earth, and the earth shall be cleansed from all impurity. In the flood, right? But see, this is where Noah comes in, and that's what Enoch's building to. Verse 15 now, yea, there shall come a great destruction over the whole earth, the flood, of course, and there shall be a deluge, flood, and a great destruction for 1 year. Did you know Enoch already called that before the flood? He already knew that it was going to be, how long it was going to be. He already knew it was going to be 1 year. I know, it's interesting that Enoch knew how long it would take, yet many Sunday schools are still teaching it was only 40 days and nights. That was when the ark was lifted to begin its journey. And ridiculous. to read just that part of the flood account and forgot the rest. I mean, there's 150 days there after that, then another 150 days, then 2 months for the earth to dry. I mean, it's really not difficult to plot it, and we do that in the flood series if you watch it. The flood was a year-long event indeed, and once again, Enoch was accurate. Verse 16, and this son who has been born unto you shall be left on the earth, so he'll survive the flood, and his 3 children shall be saved with him. Wow. So at Noah's birth, Enoch prophesied even of his 3 sons to come. How about that? When all mankind that are on the earth shall die, he and his sons shall be saved. Yes, and of course, their wives as well. And no, Enoch does not have to offer disclaimers with every word that he speaks, as some demand, trying to handcuff understanding ignorantly. We just don't do that here. We don't placate that here. Don't do it or you'll be muted. Now, we know this is fact. 8 survived, 4 men with their 4 wives. Verse 18, and now make known to thy son Lamech that he who has been born is in truth his son. He's not a Nephilim. There's no fallen angel hanky-panky here. Noah is pure, just as Genesis says in his generations from Seth. And so are his sons, and so are all of their wives. Now, we've covered that, but we're going to uncover something later in this video that's going to blow your mind. And call his name Noah, meaning rest and comfort. For he shall be left to you, and he and his sons shall be saved from the destruction which shall come upon the earth on account of all the sin and all the unrighteousness which shall be consummated on the earth in his days. Remember, it increases even after Noah's birth, and it gets even far worse than that. And those are the days, folks, that we have entered. So we're there now. Verse 19, and after that there shall be still more unrighteousness. So the flood is not going to get rid of unrighteousness. Understand that? Enoch knew that and prophesied that before the flood. The thinking that had to happen is false. Yes, after the flood, Enoch prophesied even more unrighteousness would occur. There you go. Than that which was first consummated on the earth. So before the flood, it's going to be even worse. For I know the mysteries of the holy ones. For he, Yahuwah, has showed me and informed me, and I have read them in the heavenly tablets. There we go again. Those heavenly tablets, a very entrenched Bible position and concept, such as the Book of Life. Now, we all know that well, and we're glad that there's one there, right? So, Enoch saw these and wrote from them, basically dictated from them, that which he learned, as well as Moses did the same on Mount Sinai. That's what the angel of the presence brought to him there for him to read and dictate. That's how he knows the whole first part of Genesis, the first, 12 chapters or whatever, which are really before his time. There's no way he could know that. And then they'll say, oh, well, that's passed on oral tradition. And then they try to say, oh, that came from the Sumerian tablets. That's stupid. That's stupid. That has never been scholarship. The Bible far precedes that, and the paradigm goes all the way back to the angel of the presence at creation. You don't find anything in archaeology that can precede that period. The Bible is first, the whole paradigm. Now, that's according to Jubilees, First Enoch, as well as Luke and Paul. It's in the New Testament. We've covered those scriptures many times. It's in our books too. This is called precedence and cannot be dismissed or overruled by a scoffer pretending to be a scholar stupidly. Does Enoch have a second witness to this account? The answer is yes. Also found in the Qumran scrolls, Genesis Apocryphon affirms this with more detail in some areas that will clear up some things for good. And this is fascinating, folks. It's a fragment, but the story pretty well intact here. And again, affirmed by Enoch, so this vets as truth, understand that. Then I, Lamech, ran to Methuselah my father, and I told him all these things, and I asked him to go to Enoch, his father, for he would surely learn all things from him. Same as Enoch there. For he was beloved, and he shared the lot of the angels. Well, Enoch said the same thing, that he's there where the angels reside, right? He taught him all things. Who taught him all things? The archangels, by the way, not the watchers. Remember that. This was archangel knowledge that Enoch was given from the archangels. He didn't get it from the watchers. They didn't teach him. Understand. He didn't want to learn their stuff. And when Methuselah heard my words, he went to Enoch his father to learn all things truthfully from him. And then, of course, this is fragmentary, so his will, whatever context that is, although it's kind of self-explanatory. He went at once to Parwain, and he found him there. Now, we covered this earlier in the series. Parwain, or Parvaim, is found in Chronicles, 2 Chronicles, as another name for Ophir. Philippines, the land of gold, and directly identified and matching here, in fact, as the land of the Garden of Eden, which is the land of gold. They're one and the same, even according to Genesis 2. And he said to, and maps galore, which we've shown you maps from Enoch, 4000 BC, to Noah, 2500 BC, published by Moses in 1700 BC. We've shown you scriptural evidence that continues in 970 BC in the days of Solomon. He knew where it was. He went to the Philippines. We see it in 800 BC that Jonah was taking the journey to the Philippines, to the Far East. And of course, his journey got cut short in the Indian Ocean, which is where he was spit up on the Persian Gulf. He had to be, or it wouldn't match at all. And then we go all the way through. We find maps, 43 AD, that actually identifies the route of the Greeks from 800 to 150 BC, filling in that gap. We see it in 70 AD. We see it in 124 AD. I mean, it is a consistent match that the Philippines has always been the land of gold and the land above the Garden of Eden, both in the same, all along. This is historically proven fact. So, and he said to Enoch his father, O my Lord, to whom and I say to you, lest you be angry with me because I come here. Now that's interesting. Why would Enoch be angry that his son visited him, right? Well, because Enoch's ministry is not a small thing. I mean, he's in the Garden of Eden. It's 24/7. And he's the high priest there, basically among men, replacing Adam. So he's got a big duty in the garden, and he's been doing this for thousands of years now. Wow. I abstained from injustice, and in the womb of her who conceived me, I searched for truth. Now, this is Noah speaking here, understand that. And when I emerged from my mother's womb, I was planted for truth, and I lived all my days in truth and walked in the paths of eternal truth. Noah was certainly righteous. The Bible says so every time. There's no other way to see Noah. So this is fact. And the Holy One was with me, indeed he was. On my pathways, truth sped to warn me off the whatever that is, but probably very well the wrong path of lie, which led to darkness. Okay, and I girded my loins with the vision of truth and wisdom. Paths of violence, of course, it's fragmentary. Now we know this is true, as Genesis already told us. Noah was righteous. We know that. Then I, Noah, became a man and clung to truth and seized. And I took Amzara, his daughter, as my wife. There you go again. Confirmation that Jubilees is accurate. That's the name of Noah's wife, the daughter of his uncle and pure bloodline from Seth, which you can track in the book of Jubilees. Again, watch Wives of the Patriarchs. We lay it all out there. Amzara was her name, not Naamah from Cain, the Nephilim breeder. Ew. That is a lie. This is another confirmation, though, that the book of Jasher is an occult lie, because it says Naamah was her name, and it's wrong. She conceived and bore me 3 sons and daughters. Now, they inserted and daughters, but they did it because later in the passage, he does identify that he had daughters. Is that a problem? No, not even remotely. Now, you don't typically see that Noah had daughters, but actually, this is rather sad because they didn't make the ark, did they? When you think about it, it means that Noah's daughters must have married men who were not worthy to survive the flood in the end, choosing to either be modified in DNA, perhaps, or serve the Nephilim, or perhaps they were killed, and that very well is the most likely of all the scenarios. We don't have that story, so we won't speculate. We just don't. But we know they didn't make it onto the ark for whatever reason. So is this a discrepancy? Not even remotely. Not even remotely. Then I took wives for my sons. Oh, what? Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that Noah chose his sons' wives? Ooh, wow. So from where? The Nephilim? Really? I mean, really? That's what Jasher says, and that's what some try to say as well, and it's a lie. It's always been a lie. No. From Cain, really? Noah would go track Cain down way east of where he was to try to get one of his daughters to marry? Come on. That's ridiculous. No, it didn't happen. Noah chose the daughters of his sons from his brother. His brother's daughters. There's pure Cain, or pure Seth bloodlines there. No Cain, no Nephilim. The righteous Noah, who would know better, chose them. And some try to accuse him of picking Nephilim or Cain. Are you kidding? Those are not scholars. So where did he get these women for his sons to marry that Noah selected? Here he tells you. From among my brother's daughters. So there's nieces. Got that? The 3 wives of Shem, Ham, and Japheth were pure bloodlines from Seth, period. There is no room for Nephilim nor Cain in their bloodlines. Now, this part is fascinating. And I gave my daughters, Noah's daughters, he had them, and again, not surprising that he would, but they don't make it onto the ark. And that is sad, but true. We don't know why, but there are lots of reasons that you could fill in the blanks there. We just don't need to. To my brother's sons, according to the law of the eternal precept, which the Most High ordained to the sons of man. See, they weren't supposed to mix. There you go. Now, what happened, we don't know. But see, Seth's righteous generations were following this law, not to mix with Cain nor Nephilim. They knew better, and they didn't do it. Not his righteous generations. Again, Noah's daughters, however, represent a different narrative, which is missing. Or they would be selected for the ark as well, wouldn't they? Frankly, it is most likely, again, that they were killed, as the Nephilim were devouring mankind, plants, and animals, and the extreme chaos around the earth was just profound. What a time this was, and remember, we're re-entering those days now, so we all better get ready for this. And in my days, when, according to my reckoning, 10 Jubilees had been completed, that's 490 plus years probably, the moment came for my sons to take wives for themselves. Then it skips. Heaven I saw in a vision, and was explained and made known the action of the sons of heaven and the heavens. Again, fragmentary there. Then I hid this history in my heart and explained it to no man. No, Noah did not become an evangelist or missionary traveling the world to minister to people. That is ridiculous. There was nobody to minister to. It's false doctrine from the occult Jasher, once again disproved as a lie. That book is one of the worst, yet the Sefer and even others equate it to Jubilees and Enoch and that's just plain disgusting, if they did just an ounce of research. Over 100 occult accounts in that terrible document. They did zero research, but took the word of Pharisees to do such. They had to. It's nonsense. There were none left toward the end. No pure humans. Just he, his 3 sons, and their wives. 8 on all of earth. All other human flesh was either destroyed or modified in abomination by the Nephilim prior to the flood. So we have affirmation of First Enoch with even more clarification that there is no Nephilim, no Cain incursion into the bloodlines of Noah, nor his sons, nor their wives, any of them. They're all pure. Now, warning, this next portion is for those mature enough to have the conversation about race. Racist comments will be deleted without hesitation or discussion. Don't even try it. If you feel you can't handle it, stop watching, go to another video, it's okay. We are not going to entertain the racism that this conversation brings, as this is a mature channel, and our followers are mature believers, and we'll keep it that way. But why was Noah so different in appearance? What is it with this? Remember, we're researchers, so we are working things through in some of our videos, and we're happy to do so in your presence, and glad that you follow along. Some things can be fully proven, ironclad, 100%, such as the Philippines as Ophir and the Garden of Eden. Boom, done. No one can disprove that. No one can challenge it coherently, and no one has in 6 years now. And they won't either. Now let's work through this together, though. Can we know how the races crossed the flood, at least major ones, from which the others derive? Again, no race is superior to another, period. Forget the racism. Again, we're all one, and there is a minor percentage difference between all of us in DNA. We're the same. And yes, many of you look different from me, okay? And we are brothers from another mother, okay? And that goes for you sisters too, okay? But we can discuss this with maturity, and we can know these things. And we need to, because if we don't, then we're going to lose a lot of understanding with history, migration patterns, and everything that we need in foundation to understand the Bible. First, let's fast forward to about 2500 BC now. Well after the flood, before Noah's death, Noah divided the earth between his 3 sons, and it's very telling. Yes, again, only 3 sons. That's all he had as far as sons. Again, none of his daughters went with him on the ark. Only his daughter-in-laws married to his sons, whom he chose for his sons from pure bloodlines. The whole earth, all of it, is right here. This is a brief summation of that mapping. We're not remapping it here, and we're not giving you the data involved because it's extensive. But we conduct this in the Book of Jubilees, the Torah calendar, available free in eBook at bookofjubilees.org, and you can watch Answers in Jubilees as well, especially parts 2 through 4, 8 through 10, and 22 through 24, or really the whole series, which deals with this topic in many videos, as well as many of the things we've already discussed. In fact, Jubilees is wonderful for this, and you'll see how Jubilees and Enoch and Genesis all agree. Jasher does not. Jubilees is the record of history, written by Moses, and that's why. So these are their territories, and already regarding skin tone, though remember, again, we're just one race, all right? So don't get into that, but we need to know the migrations. We need to understand this. We can see Japheth in the northern areas, known in origin, generally, as being called what we'd call white, right? Shem, almost all of Asia, is known for medium brown skin tone, and the southern hemisphere of Africa, South America, even the Aborigines of Australia, all the way to Indonesia and in between, really what they call black, right? Again, they're all brown, we know that. All of these are just different shades of brown. But we're going to use the terms, even though they're meant to divide us, we're going to use the terms to understand this, right? However, we should understand this. We should know this stuff, and it's important that we're able to have these kinds of mature conversations. Those interpreting DNA without knowing these ancient migrations will be wrong on many things, and they are. This is why we don't use that discipline to prove things, because it is full of inaccuracies. People that they don't know, they don't understand. They have no right, really, to draw conclusions many times when they don't even understand ancient migrations. This is important. This is knowledge we have lost, now being restored in our age, really of what Daniel predicted as increasing knowledge. Okay, does this even make sense, though? Well, those peoples are an accurate reflection, no doubt. That fits. But was Japheth white? Was Shem medium brown? And was Ham black? Is there actual precedent for that? And then, how? I mean, how did that happen? Because you got Noah, they're all three his sons from the same woman. How do we get three different races coming from one man and wife who are the same race? Yet we know Noah was special. There's something different going on here, and that's the point. These are good, and they are found in First Enoch. Just wait and see. We can see this, some in their names. So let's go to some of their names first and try to identify some. Let's take a look at their names, which affirm this in part here. Shem, which generally means name. It's actually the word name in Hebrew. Many say the name, but that would be Ha-Shem, right? Now, not the false god, Ashima, who they call Hashem, which is Ashima, that's rebuked in Scripture in, 2 Kings 17, I believe. That's for the imposters. We don't call our Yahuwah Hashem, ever. Not a biblical concept whatsoever. Now, there's no doubting that, and someplace the origin in that he is the holiest of the three, and that's true, there's no doubt. Thus, the name being, a connection to Yahuwah. Yeah, but it doesn't really work. However, there is a derivative of this word, an origin of this word, also Shem, and really the same word, as the vowel points you see are really never there in the original Hebrew. And that's what we have on screen here for that reason. In deeper meaning, we find a primitive word, perhaps rather than blah, 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 conspicuous position, compare an appellation. Okay, so an appellation, that's interesting, as a mark or memorial of individuality. Okay, doesn't really have a major, meaning yet, but hang on. Basically, in terms of race, though, if you were looking at that, there's no race that's superior to another, and that's not what this is saying, but there is an original race of Adam. Adam was only one race. He wasn't all races, and that's indisputable. Now, if you watch What Color Was Adam, again, a video for the mature, you will find that he was made from Adama. That's what the Hebrew says there, where it says, the ground, the dirt, basically the dust. And that's right there. It means red soil. So red in terms of race, historically, is not black. That's new and not applicable in any sense. It is red skin, like the Native American Indian, or even the Filipino, medium brown is what is the connotation. That's just fact, and it also blushing never explains this as being white. It's just these kinds of things. They throw in these things, and we get all these comments when we do a video that has anything to do with this topic. And try it, you'll be muted. We're just not going to play that game here. That is an extremely laughable assertion that some try to make as well, and it's just nonsense. Red skin is very easily, identified as medium brown. By implication, honor, authority, character, base. You mean like first or the base of all races, perhaps? Now that sure fits and makes sense. It could work. Infamous, named, renowned, report. Okay, again, the medium race is, again, no better than any other. Medium brown. No better than any other. We're all the same. Especially in Yahuwah's eyes. I mean, even in Israel, the Gentile, the stranger among them, was equal, had the same laws. So there'll be one law for you that are the native born and the stranger among you. One law, that's it. Okay, so it was not about race. It was about covenant. That's what it was about. And that's what Israel is about. As a nation, they formed covenant. That's what that was about. It's not about their blood as a nation. It's because as a nation they formed covenant. That's what made them special. Before that, it was a village or a people of a smaller group, in the patriarchs. But the patriarchs were just as saved as Israel was, right? And we Gentiles were too. But if we are ever going to understand history, we all need to show maturity enough to understand this, and most of our viewers do. And again, we'll just keep out the comments that can't handle it. We believe this community can, and that's why we cover these kinds of things. Shem is medium brown-skinned in territory as well. It fits in Jubilees mapping. Modern Jews are white, and they are not from Shem, and we prove that too. Watch our Lost Tribes series, Origin of the Word Jew, Gog of Magog, Psalm 83, War, and others. Even Answers in 2nd Esdras, we go there too. We looked up the sons of Shem, by the way, but we aren't seeing anything in their definitions that define their race specifically, which is no big deal. It doesn't have to, but it'd be neat if one did. However, later on, here's what we do know. Scripture records King David from Shem as ruddy. Ruddy is red or medium brown skinned. No, it does not just mean handsome. And Solomon is described many ways in Song of Solomon, many parts, his neck and all kinds of things, but they're not about skin tone. When it gets to describing his countenance, that's his skin tone, and that is as the cedars of Lebanon, or red, really, or medium brown, as we would call it. Not white, certainly, and certainly not black. But in between, though, we are all brown, right? Anyone reading this passage written by Solomon's wife, an Egyptian who was black, where she says, I am black and comely, well, better go back and read, because, well, Solomon was not a she, and didn't marry himself, and he wasn't black. That's her. This doesn't even matter in terms of race, but we will never understand migrations, nor be able to interpret DNA until we understand these things. They do matter in that perspective. Keep your racism to yourself. For those immature who can't handle this, it's okay. You can just bow out now. Those comments will be gone quickly. Our channel, our rules. In the case of Ham, this is very definitive. Ham means hot, or in some dictionaries, literally burnt, as we have covered before. No, people that are termed black, really just dark brown, or not burnt people. We're not saying that, all right? So don't go there. It's not negative in any sense, as there is nothing wrong with being a darker shade of brown, okay? And there's nothing wrong with being a lighter shade of brown. And there's nothing wrong with being a medium shade of brown, or whatever color you are. Green might be a problem, because, yeah, then you might be a Nephilim. But anyway, the term black is not even accurate, but it's what we got. You see it also in his sons, as Cush literally means black. And he inherited Ethiopia, in which the indigenous peoples certainly a darker brown skin. No doubt, that no one can dispute that. Same with Mizraim, or Egypt, and Put, or Libya, also the same. Jacinius discusses Ethiopia in terms, that's Cush, in terms of inhabited by black men, get this though, very rich. How about that? In their local dialects. He wasn't a racist, see? I mean, it wasn't about that. He's just merely saying this is what it means. In their local dialects, Mizraim, Egypt, signifies blackness and heat, same really as Ham and Cush. I mean, these all tie. especially when it gets to Ham. Really, this is no mystery whatsoever. And looking at Jubilees mapping, again, this is a perfect fit in the area of skin tone. We don't see, as far as the Aborigines, as far as the native, folks in these lands. We don't see anything in Japheth that identifies race, even in his sons, in their definition. So we won't go there. There's no need to. It's okay that it doesn't. It'd be neat if it did. His name more akin to the prophecy of his stealing land. Yeah, which his descendants are doing even today all over the world. Enlargement, expansion, that's the prophecy that he'll basically extend or expand his tents. And Jubilees, by the way, rebukes that. His people who do it are cursed. Genesis never said Japheth was allowed to enlarge his tent. That's not what that prophecy is saying. It's not positive. Into other territories of the other sons, it rebukes it. And it is Yahuwah who resides in the tent of Shem, not Japheth. So that's basically a misplaced comma in Genesis, affirmed and clarified by Jubilees. See, this is why Genesis needs a second witness, and it has it, as well as a third in First Enoch. So, how do these make sense then? I mean, how do we make sense of all of this? Oh, this is good. First, Noah is truly described as being albino-like. Now, this is our conclusion that we're drawing from this, but it does make logical sense. It's something very unique to his time, of course. It's still rare today, but not as unique today as likely. Those are genes handed down, at least in part, from Noah to this day. And that's where albinism came from, really. When an albino mates, the genes of their pair, whomever they take as a mate, become the dominant genes. If they take an African American wife, they'll basically generally, again, we're not saying in all cases, and not everybody's the same, but generally they'll have an African American child. If they marry a white person, their children will be white, because whatever trait of the mate, of the spouse, would dominate theirs, assuming they were, it wasn't another albino, of course, and then who knows. But this trait has no explanation except for First Enoch in this account. There's really no true, good scientific explanation for the origin of albinism, nor how we got the races. Yet Enoch's about to tell you, and this is going to blow you away. You just wait. So it makes sense, though, that Noah had the special genes to carry the major races across the flood. But wait, could it be possible if there's a record somewhere that Noah had 3 sons from the same wife, yet they represent 3 different, what we call races, again, an impertinent term, but regarding migrations and historical patterns, it is pertinent. Actually, yes, there is. And again, it comes from First Enoch yet again. Check this out. Turn your book of First Enoch to chapter 89. Now, we're going to cover this in detail in future videos, but we're going to pull out a verse here, verse 9. Now, I'm going to pick this out of this whole narrative of history that really goes from the time of Adam all the way to our future, even the day of judgment, all right? We're going to cover that all here, in future videos that will all be coming in the series. So don't worry about that. We're going to get there, but not here. We are going to pull out this fragment, and we're going to use it because it says what it says. This is the flood, and here is what Enoch says of Noah. Again, we're going to explain the full context in the next videos coming, so don't worry, we're going to get there. But this is about Noah and his 3 sons. And look at this description. This is so fascinating as it affirms everything we have been saying right there all along. And remember, this is Enoch prophesying because he wrote this before the flood about events that occur after the flood or later after that period of his writing, even building up to the flood, which he wasn't right. He had written before that. Now, this will make sense. And check this out. Okay, so, but that white bull. Now understand, This is the way even Adam. Adam is a bull. Cain and Abel are bulls. I mean, you see that it's a male. He's seeing this in terms of animals. You really could animate it, and this would be a really cool animation to follow his full history in animation. We can't quite do that, but we'll do our best with it when we get there. But that white bull, that's Noah, which had become a man, came out of that vessel. That's the ark. Again, this is Noah, who is described as white, but very white. Remember that. Not white in race, but some, as we said, more albino. And Enoch knew that, of all people, because that's where it comes from. And 3 bulls with him. So it's 3 sons, all right? And one of those 3 was white like that bull. Okay, so that's Japheth, the white boy, who received the northern lands. That fits perfect. And one of them was red as blood, red or medium brown, historically, never black nor white, and they try that. Either attempt is futile. This is Shem, who is medium brown as a people. Shemites, which, by the way, that term also used by Jusinius long ago, so it's got precedence. It's not Semites or Semitic peoples. It should be Shemites or Shemitic people. They dropped the S on purpose, but, there you go. And they ain't white. I mean, that's why the king of Egypt said of the Jews that were flowing into Palestine back in 1948, supposedly they'll return, which wasn't a return. It was actually Gog of Magog attacking. Watch Gog of Magog. See for yourself. He said, I don't trust them because they left here black and returned white. Well, he made a good point, a valid point, in fact, and it wasn't racist. He was speaking fact, because that is the fact. And 1 black. Now that is Ham. Again, all brown, really. Let's, call a spade a spade. That's what it is. We're all the same race. I don't know how many times I have to say that. And that white bull departed from them. So Noah left. Okay, so even First Enoch identifies this dynamic, and it sure seems to fill in lots of gaps here. By the way, when it says the white bull departed, that's Noah's death probably. But we're going to cover that in detail when we get to all of that. This is fascinating. Think about it. Read it again. Go through this slide again and read it for yourself. Pull out your book of Enoch if you haven't. Read it. This blows us away. Wow. We know there are cults out there like Mormonism that are steeped in racism in this regard. They also think that they will be gods on the Day of Judgment, and that is a lie. It always has been, and that's the doctrine from the angel of light from the Garden of Eden, Satan himself. They believe black people are that color because they bear a curse. That's just stupid. They can't even read the Bible because that's not what it ever says. It's very racist and has never bore any truth. Of course, they screw up the story of Canaan and the curse. Ham was not cursed, nor were his other sons. So the whole idea is so dumb. Only Canaan was, and he deserved to be, and he was cursed a second time even, so twice cursed, and neither time because of his skin color. It had nothing to do with that, and by the way, he was already black before. He didn't change color all of a sudden. That's not there in the passage either. So again, that is a very immature religion, and those in it, well, pretty clueless of Scripture anyway, very easily deceived by the angel of light, which, by the way, in Scripture is called Satan. Hello. Joe Smith listening to Satan is never Scripture. Sorry, I don't care what he dictated. It's trash. Ham was not evil in this sense, and not cursed, so it doesn't work. He was fully human, and no different from Shem. Japheth and his lineages are not superior because they're white. Again, that's one of the dumbest paradigms ever, and it is what brought the evil colonialism, the slave trade, and many other things that have been some of the greatest evils in all of history are justified by that stupidity. We can talk about this because we're all mature here. We hope this has served to fill in some gaps. It certainly has for us. as we have covered this, but man, First Enoch brings so much more clarity to this topic and so many. Wow. How deep are we into this series now? And how much profound revelation has there been? We are in awe at what Yahuwah has preserved for us to understand here in the last days. We hope you are too. We have almost 450 videos on this channel, one for every day of the year, many just as profound, with some 50 or so in Tagalog for Filipinos, and now 6 in Spanish to start. We also have been setting up subtitles for 20 plus languages for most of our videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell for notifications of new uploads. Join our email list as YouTube fails to notify often, and we will notify you ourselves at thegodculture.com. Just fill in the pop-up there. We now have alternative platforms for videos on Rumble, Odyssey, and Utreon, and our new podcast is also available for all of our videos as well. All links in the description box. Friend us on Facebook at The God Culture, _space, original. If you prefer an alternative, we now have Parler and Gab. Links below. We have 6 books published internationally, being read in over 100 countries, with a new release now available. The first book of Enoch, the oldest book in history, and we prove it right there in the introduction. Read it. We also have now launched Ophir Philippines Coffee Table Book in the US, Canada, UK, and many overseas markets on Amazon. And it's available in hardcover or softcover there. Additionally, we launched the Book of Jubilees, the Torah calendar, with color maps and interior, as so many had requested overseas. We already had that with color maps in the Philippines, but that too is available in hardcover or softcover, both in color or also in black and white, if you wish. All books, including Solomon's Treasure, are now free in eBook. Yes, folks, our content is free. And don't forget, the Book of Enoch, First Enoch, is also available in hardcover color, softcover color, and black and white color on Amazon. But in the Philippines, it's just black and white. That's all we can offer at this time. Just go to ophirinstitute.com for all the links for your area for all of our books. More coming soon. Thank you for watching. Now, always remember, prove all things for yourself. Yah bless to everyone.